Very good. Any questions from the committee?
How many students do you expect to participate?
We have 49 students, and we have 7 chaperones. 6 of them are North Reading High School staff chaperones.
So 49 have committed to...
49, and I have 56 direct airline flights, because that's a little bit easier for our joint students to do that with. So I was able to book 56 flights. That includes our chaperones as well. So that gave us 49 then students, and they are all full.
Is that about the same amount as when you've done the New York trips or the other trips?
It is. Last year was 45 students. One year we had 50. And then about 6 years ago, we took 70 kids. This was the year right before I came. We had 70, so those were 2 bus trips. When we went to Virginia Beach 2 years ago, we had 1 bus of 55. It was 11-hour bus trip.
Any correlation on why there was 70 before you got here and others on Friday? I'm just curious. I'm just curious.
Never.
Taking us away from...
Never. No, well,
No, that was
yeah, I know. So yes, it's almost the same. 2 years ago, the price for the Virginia trip was $685. For this trip, taxes and all food, $705. So we try to keep it as darn close to the same as every year. The students have fundraising abilities. They are selling fudge and bark, peppermint bark. They are doing candy caning around town. They are caroling around town. I already have students who have $250 towards their accounts already, which is exciting for them, because I have a couple of students who said, I'm paying for this for myself, and I think that's pretty cool.
Any other questions or comments? The superintendent has a recommendation.
Yes, I would first like to say that this is another opportunity for our wonderful students of North Reading to showcase their talents at another venue, and I think they would do quite well. And more importantly, the collaboration between Ms. Mahan and Ms. Kane's class is extraordinary. And I fully support this collaboration, taking these children on a trip to Disney. It's a wonderful way for them to apply some practical skills in the vocational arena, as well as to demonstrate their creative side while being at Disney. So based on that, I fully recommend the endorsement of this trip to the school committee this evening.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the high school performing arts trip.
So moved.
Motion by Karen, second by Mr. Webster. Any further discussion regarding the trip? There we go. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries by a vote of 4-0.
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Have a good
I
time.
totally want to go now.
Oh, that's coming, because it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah,
The
we're
best
gonna go
kids.
tomorrow.
The best kids.
Chaperone.
Yeah, come.
I've been to Disney about 40 times. And I have been to the Disney Institute, so I know the quality of programming.
Okay. I've never been to the
You
Institute.
guys are going to have a fantastic one. It's going to be a great
Oh,
experience.
that's exciting.
Oh,
Oh, great, thanks. Oh, that's
Have fun. Thanks for
wonderful.
coming tonight.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a report from the superintendent. It's an MSBA, SSBC update. Ken?
Yes, thank you. The last secondary school building committee meeting was held on Tuesday, December 6th. During that committee meeting, the financials associated with the project were discussed, and tonight those costs were shared with the audience that attended. The presentation included the costs of non-reimbursable scope items such as the central office and the sports field building. The committee did take a vote on the total project cost, and it fell within the range of the 105 to 110 million that has been estimated for the project. The schematic design study, as you had mentioned, was submitted to MSBA on Friday, December 9th. I have received an email from MSBA acknowledging receipt of this submittal, and a copy of the entire submittal is located at the central office. I received a box from our designers of everything that has been sent off to MSBA. Members of the Board of Selectmen discussed the need for the preliminary project scope and budget agreement meeting with the MSBA to take place before a date for the town meeting and the special election can be scheduled. That meeting was supposed to take place this month. It was then moved by the MSBA to January, and I know that our OPM has been working diligently to get that meeting moved back to December so that we can continue along the timeline that we have established. No word yet, so we'll keep you posted if that should change. There was also a discussion about the need for an in-depth traffic study, and that will be taking place. Something that just happened today is that there will be another round of design meetings taking place this coming Wednesday. In the morning, our architects will be meeting with representatives of the middle school to take a look at the designs one more time, and then they'll move to the high school at about noon time, and they'll meet with high school personnel until about 3. And then about 3:15, they will come to the central office and meet with central office administrators to take a look at the design space for the central office. So again, that was just established today, and that's why it's not in your notes. And the next meeting of the SSBC is scheduled for Tuesday, December 20th. That's tomorrow night, beginning at 6:30 p.m. in the high school modular cafeteria.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions? Yes, no?
I'm a little confused on this, the preliminary project scope and budget agreement meeting. Is that a standard meeting, or is that?
That is a standard meeting, Mel, that takes place after the design study has been submitted to MSBA, and that is pro forma. But I think because of the holidays, it was moved from December to January.
And then the other question is, when are the selectmen planning on setting a date for the town meeting and the election?
The basis of the meeting Kathy's talking about is to sit down and try to iron out and make sure that we're on the same page, so that the vote on the 25th of January becomes more of a formality. So I think they were trying to wait to see at that meeting whether or not there was a meeting of the minds as to the scope and the cost of the project. If that were the case, then they would go ahead and schedule the special town meeting and the special election.
So the MSBA is wanting to make sure that the selectmen are in line with the
No,
project?
no, no, not at all, no. No, what happens is that our people, our architects and representatives from the secondary school building committee sit down with the MSBA based on what we've submitted on December 9th, just to go over it and make sure that we're on the same page and that everything falls into place. And the selectmen want to wait to see if that happens. In other words, they're not going to wait till the January 25th vote. They're going to wait to see if this preliminary meeting takes place and there are no problems, no issues. We have the scope of the project, we have the cost of the project, and at that point, they'll be comfortable with scheduling the special meetings, special town meeting.
It's just an opportunity.
To get together.
Get together and discuss our project, and as I understand it, they have a very, very full plate right at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it's slipping.
We were hoping it would be in December.
My
so-
guess is it's unlikely it's going to be in December, since today's the 19th. I don't.
Probably not, but they're trying to move it up as early as they can before, obviously, well before the 25th. Because it's going to take, I think Sean Delaney was saying, it's about 5 weeks to schedule a special election.
So okay, so that it's not a big deal, but that
No.
could be moving out a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still looking at February. Worst case scenario, and I don't even want to bring this up, but worst case scenario is if we had to wait till January 25th, we could do it by the end of February. I'm sorry, the end of February.
If I looked through the entire package, the architect has given us access to the website, and I've been through the whole package, it's very, very nice. What we submitted was super.
Any other questions? Okay. Moving on, with bills and payrolls, I think we have 3 signatures on everything. Minutes, we do have the November 7th, 2011 executive session minutes for approval. We would get to make a motion.
You can't. You still don't have to approve it.
Michael's absent, so we have to take it.
Well, who was missing from that
Who was
meeting?
missing?
So I'm not able to vote, so we don't have a motion.
Well, we are able to vote, but we'll hold.
No, we can't, it's only you and me.
Huh?
Only you and I were here, so we can't vote.
Well, I think technically if they were reviewing, but we'll wait till Michael's here, so we'll hold those, okay. Budget update, there's no report this time, there's no staffing changes to report, there's no bits and donations. We do have subcommittee updates, and we had an athletic subcommittee meeting on January 17th. I'm going to ask Mr. Webster to summarize what happened at that meeting.
A couple quick things. We do have the co-op gymnastics and girls ice hockey teams. We have athletes participating in both of those. Didn't get as many numbers as we thought, but when we look back at what we started with the wrestling co-op, there were similar numbers. We have, I believe, 2 girls who are playing with the PB ice hockey team, and 3 girls, or 3, I don't know if it's girls, 3 students participating with the Danvers gymnastics team. When we started the wrestling program, I believe Mr. Johnson said we had 3 wrestlers, and
And
now
now-
North Reading has 24 wrestlers, and
Including 3 of the 4 captains
Right.
on the team.
all 4 captains.
All 4 captains.
Yeah, all 4
Okay,
captains
all
from
4
North Reading.
captains.
So we expect that,
We expect to take
those
over
numbers
soon.
will, those numbers will, exactly, those numbers will continue to build. We also just briefly discussed the interim concussion policy, and Dave Johnson and his staff and Mr. Bernard are going to work on making sure that we dot all the i's and cross all the t's when it comes to reviewing the interim concussion policy we just approved and putting into place a new concussion policy that meets state guidelines. We briefly discussed an issue we're having again with the revolving fund and with fees. The numbers for the winter sports season are down fairly significantly. If you went sport by sport, it doesn't sound that much, but it's a good, I think, 25 to 30 kids. I mean, even a few more.
I think it was 25 to 30, and that's including the addition of the gymnastics and the
Correct.
and the girls hockey programs.
So last year, we ended up with a $25,000 deficit in that account, in that we collected $25,000 less in fees than we expected. And we're about on that same projected path this year in terms of, I think we're about $12,000 below where we expected to be at the winter season. And this continues to be an issue for us that we'll work with, and I think next year, we may have to consider, or I think we will have to look at putting a little more into the budget as opposed to expecting more from the athletic fees and the revolving accounts. And I think that was basically, we did have a brief discussion on assistant varsity coaches. I think that may come before us.
It's going to be a budget item.
Right, it's a budget item, and Superintendent Willis and our business manager, Mr. Nelson, are going to look at the budget and see what we can do. We have a number of varsity sports that don't have assistant coaches. For some sports, that's okay, because the varsity and JV games aren't played at the same time, and thus the JV coach can serve as an assistant. But in sports like baseball, softball, and a few others, I think boys lacrosse sometimes, there's only one coach. There's no assistant. If anything happens to that coach, God forbid he gets thrown out of the game, or whatever, there's no one to take over. And we've had some issues in the past with coaches that have been sick, and we haven't had anybody available to coach practice or coach teams. So Mr. Johnson has given us a list of the sports that he'd like to see us consider assistant coaches for. And as I said, Ms. Willis and Mr. Nelson will review the potential for that in our budget moving forward. And I believe that's it.
Thank you, Mel. Any questions from your athletic subcommittee meeting?
Are we going to consider the new MASC guidelines on the concussion policy? Because I just got that in the mail this week. I don't know if other members got it.
Yeah, I actually brought it to Kathy.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, so she will bring that up with the policy
I
subcommittee.
think the policy we have now is more or less a temporary policy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And we also had a meeting of the policy subcommittee, and they met on Wednesday, December 14th. I'm going to ask Mr. Barros to give us an update on that meeting.
Well, we have a copy of the latest concussion policy from the
Just step ahead of us.
MASC.
MASC. And we have, that policy has a set of regulations behind it, and we are taking those under review and passing them around for other comments. So there's a group that will provide us with comments on regulations individuals. And so that very well could be coming back up here in January. We also went back and took a look at our consistent review of the whole policy manual, where we have D and E, section D and section E in the queue. Unfortunately, the D is still holding out on signature policy. And when we're getting pretty close on that. We should have that coming up in January as well. But when we have that, that will free the logjam of D and E.
And again, what we do is the committee, the policy subcommittee members, on a regular basis, try to review all of the policies to make sure they're up to date, to see if they need to be amended, The only thing I like doing with policy talk is with goal setting talk. So, but this is a tedious job, it's got to be done.